Thank you, Tom. That was a beautiful prelude. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist Coastside Community Sunday service. I'm Bill Heveland, one of your worship associates today. We are glad you are able to join us as we gather in fellowship. And a very warm welcome to those visiting us for the first time. We've even turned the heat on. Whoever you are, whatever path you have traveled, whatever your age, whatever your ability, whomever you love, you are welcome here today with us in this liberal religious community. Unitarian Universalist congregations embrace wisdom and spirituality, drawn from sources as diverse as scientists, poets, scripture, wise people from various religions, and with personal experience. While nurturing our individual spiritual paths, we're committed to seeking the spirit-building community and working for social justice and changing the world. If you would like more information about Unitarian Universalism, you'll find an assortment of brochures at the welcome table, including a red card with our UU principles. And now, our guest speaker today, Esther Wallace, has some opening words for us.
Good morning. Morning. Always good to be with you all again. I'm so happy to be here. Our opening words this morning actually come from two different sources. The first one is a haiku written by Mizuta Masahide. Barns burned down, now I can see the moon. And our second passage of opening words is Our Lives Intersect and Intertwine by Reverend Tanya Marquez. It is a wonder and mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I am so glad you are here. Let us worship, let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together. Please rise now in body or spirit as you are able to sing our opening hymn. It's number 55 in the silver hymnal, Dark of Winter. The words are also in your lip service. Tom is going to play it all through.
Yeah, if you guys are not familiar, we'll play it all through once and then join us in singing it, please.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm very happy to be a worship associate this morning, especially when the Reverend Esther Wallace is presenting. The last time she was here, she spoke on the theme of hope. And I always get an insight to take home when she's speaking. And I remember from that when it was a time before the elections, the Ukraine war was going on, there were shootings, and I think there was a lot of feeling of hopelessness, and so here she was speaking on hope. And she encouraged us to think of hope as a choice, a way of being in the world, a choice for a world we want the world to be. And if you do that, then you have to be active and do something. And so I look forward today, I think that today's topic is awe, and I'm looking forward to the insight I take home with me today. Today's Chalice Lighting is by the Reverend Cindy Terlazzo. It's entitled, With Love as My Guide. Because it's a lengthy reading written in the first person, I'll just read it, and maybe you would please listen for the awe that's in the theme of the words. Light from the candle. Amidst the swirl of life's challenges, fears, and even moments of crisis, I make time to gaze at the night sky, to see the vastness there, and to remember this moment in time is but a flicker, not an inconsequential flicker. For what I do and think now does matter. My work, though, to let the debris of this world pass by, while I anchor myself to what I know is true: love, kindness, compassion, and caring for this precious life, this precious planet, and all that calls this place home. This is my North Star. With love as my guide, how can I possibly go wrong?
So all of you were here on November 20th, so you remember some things, I'm sure. Our Joys and Concerns ritual is based on the 5-element medicine wheel in the Doggerel tradition. And on November 20th, you'll remember Sabonfu's teachings that each of us comes onto this earth through a woman's body with particular gifts that the community needs now. She also reminds us that if we are weighed down with grief, we cannot bring our gifts forward. And so it is imperative to release our grief so that our community can receive our gifts. For our ritual today, you will need a stone. Did everyone get a stone? Yeah. If you've not chosen, well, okay, everybody has. Oh, one needs a stone. Splendid. Folks at home, please find a stone and a small bowl of water and be ready to join us. So we know that stones hold our stories, and it is a lovely thing to be able to transfer the weight of grief into something else.
And with great pleasure, I introduce our new guest speaker today, who returns to us yet again, Esther Wallace. As you recall, Esther works and plays in the realms of meaning making, sacred space, and social justice. Raised Christian, Esther became a Unitarian Universalist in 2014, and she has cherished being invited to profound experiences in Buddhist, Taoist, humanist, Muslim, and pagan communities. And concurrent with her Star King School for the Ministry, with her UU identity, Esther is also converting to Judaism. A graduate of Star King School for the Ministry, Esther pursues interests in emergent spiritual communities, that sounds like us, and the intersections of ministry and disability. Welcome back, Esther.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Bill. I am so happy to be back. A couple things before we get to this sermon. One thing I always like to remind folks of and say thank you for is I look very forward to the day I preach without this mask, but I have a delicate immune system, so I keep it on to protect myself and protect all of you. And today, right before the sermon, we're going to do a responsive reading together. And this reading is drawn from a song by one of my favorite musical artists, Vienna Tang, who is a Bay Area local, and it's called The Atheist Christmas Carol. And I'll read the text in bold, and I invite you to read the italicized text. It's the season of grace coming out of the void, where people are saved by a voice in the distance.
It's the season of possible miracle cures, where hope is currency and death is not the last unknown, where time begins to fade and age is welcome home.
It's the season of eyes meeting over the noise and holding fast with sharp realization.
It's the season of cold taking warmth of divine intervention. You are safe here. You know how.
Don't forget. Don't forget. I love you.
Don't
Don't forget. Don't forget. I love you.
It's the season of scars and of wounds in the heart, of feeling the full weight of our burdens.
It's the season of bowing our heads to the wind and knowing we are not alone in fear, not alone in the dark.
Don't forget. Don't forget. I love you.
Don't forget. Don't forget. I love you.
You know, some sermons, you start writing and you think you're going to go one place. And they wind up taking you somewhere really different than you thought you were going to go. And this is one of those sermons. I had an idea when I began it, and it just swept me off my feet and took me to an unexpected place. So I hope there's some gems in it. I hope we can all take something from it. And one of the places it took me is that I wanted to start us out with a little game this morning. It turns out this is a very song-focused service. And to start us out, I'm going to quote the first part of a very popular song lyric, and then stop before the lyric is totally finished. And if you think you know the second half of this lyric, I invite you to go ahead and speak it or sing it into the room out loud. Some hints before we start. This song was released in the last 2 years and was popular with all age groups, but especially with children. Here goes. We don't talk about Bruno. No, we don't talk about Bruno. I'm glad people do it. For anybody who managed to escape this song's ubiquity last year, We Don't Talk About Bruno is from the animated film Encanto, which is set in Colombia and follows the story of the fantastical family Madrigal. It explores themes of magical realism, intergenerational trauma, grief, and familial love. The story, in brief: in her youth, Abuela Alma, the now matriarch of the family Madrigal, her husband and their 3 infant children flee an armed conflict that is endangering their community. As they're running, the attackers catch up with them, and Abuela Alma's husband sacrifices himself to protect his family. And just as the danger is about to catch up with Alma and her children, the strength of her love and her grief flows into a candle she's holding, which then magically removes her and the babies and their community to a new village. And this event becomes known as the miracle of the family Madrigal. The children of the family Madrigal, Julieta, Pepa, and the aforementioned Bruno, manifest magical powers, as does the new house this candle created for them to live in. Then, when they grow up, Julieta and Pepa's children are also gifted fantastical powers, and all the abilities of the family Madrigal are credited with keeping the village safe. Until one day, Alma's young granddaughter Mirabel is all set to receive her gift in this beautiful ceremony, and her magical power from the miraculous candle does not arrive. When she doesn't manifest magical powers, this rocks the family and the village to their core. They do not know what is going on. And Uncle Bruno, whose somewhat unpopular power is prophecy, has a vision of an older Mirabel in front of their home, which it seems because of her is either crumbling to pieces or being held together. So this all sets off the main story of the film, which is a story about the ways that our grief and fear can crack the foundations of our communities and our families, and the ways that love and care can help us move forward together. We Don't Talk About Bruno is definitely the breakout hit song from this movie, but there's another song from it that floated through my head as I was thinking about the topic of awe. It's called Waiting on a Miracle. In this song, the teenage Mirabel, who still doesn't have magical powers, she expresses her yearning to experience something incredible and transformative. An out-of-the-ordinary event that will change her and finally give her a sense of place and belonging in this family and their community. She sings, "I'm ready, come on, I'm ready. I've been patient and steadfast and steady. Bless me now, as you blessed us all those years ago, when you gave us a miracle. Am I too late for a miracle? Am I too late for a miracle?" What a lyric, what a question. Miracles are these amazing occurrences that bring very welcome consequences. They are events that are so unexpected or inexplicable that they invite our awe, our wonder. When we experience something miraculous, we may really feel especially blessed or close to our sacred sources. Miracles and the sense of wonderment they invite remind me of something called the numinous. Now, if you've never heard that word before, numinous is a term coined by the theologian Rudolf Otto in his text, The Idea of the Holy. And it means this sort of primal state of perception and feeling that reflects an experience of the sacred beyond ourselves. The numinous is this force that moves our ordinary human understanding, our rational senses, to a state of receiving mystery and wonder and meaning-making. To translate a little bit, an experience of the numinous is an oh, wow moment. Our experiences of the numinous serve as markers of the sacred and a connection with meaning deeper than that which our ordinary language can express. It's a feeling and experience that resists easy definition or categorization, but reveals truth to us by its presence. And I think that when we experience wonderment, awe, we are connecting with the numinous. And I think this feeling of awe is one that it's difficult to live inside all of the time. Our human systems are really equipped to handle measured doses of awe, but it's something that takes a lot of practice to be in 24/7. When I was sitting on my couch writing this sermon thinking about awe, I was typing into this marvelous machine that connects me to millions of people and limitless knowledge. I was looking out my window at the beautiful world around us. I was feeling the rise and fall of my own breath. And I thought, oh yeah, all of these things are definitely miraculous. And I feel aggressively normal about them. I just felt the ease with which my human mind slipped into categorizing it all as everyday and ordinary. In Encanto, Mirabel and the family Madrigal and their village face a similar difficulty. So many members of the family Madrigal can do amazing things like control the weather and speak to animals and lift entire buildings. And their extraordinary gifts have become this paradoxical combination of ordinary and the minimum standard expectation for what something special should be. Mirabel is surrounded every day by the amazing feats performed by her family, and she's lost touch with her own innate capacity for the miraculous. So much that she has to wonder out loud if she's missed the window to experience a miracle, to live in her own sense of awe. Am I too late for a miracle? She asks. It's a question that I can really relate to. Whether I'm at the doctor's office waiting for news, or stuck in traffic, really hoping to get somewhere on time, or sitting in the living room on my phone bored, how often do I have the sense that I'm waiting to feel or experience something miraculous or amazing? How often do we all feel we're disconnected from this numinous, and we have to anticipate the moment when it comes roaring back in to sweep us off our feet? How often do we have the sense that we've missed our miracle, or we have to chase down awe before it gets away from us? I am also grateful for our human ability to normalize the extraordinary, because I do think it would be overwhelming to live in this constant state of awe. Wonderment can have a way of flooding our senses and leaving us really excited and exhausted. And all my respect to the practiced folks who can live close to being present in that state all the time, but a lot of us need to experience it in smaller helpings, to metabolize it and then come back for more. And when we do experience it in these easily digestible helpings, it becomes tempting to understand it as this sporadic thing. To read the constant events that make up our lives as just ordinary. To forget that the tapestry of the numinous, our interdependent web we know as UUs, is around us all the time. We wind up feeling like we've missed our miracle. So how do we remind ourselves to tap into wonder? I think as spiritual people, ritual plays an enormous role in connecting us with the numinous, with our sense of wonderment. In spiritual and religious spaces, liturgical seasons and sacred time are, in my understanding, strategies for edging us closer and closer to these collective encounters with awe, and then helping us process those experiences. In Islamic traditions, observing Ramadan, the month of fasting and devotion, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. In Jewish traditions, there's a focus on the experiences of awe during the high holy days, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. And right now, Christians are entering a liturgical season that I would say focuses on awe, the season of Advent. These are just a few examples, but each one comes with rituals and liturgies and stories that help practitioners enter a rhythm of devotion, that help us remind ourselves of ways to connect to wonder. One of my very favorite things about the Christian liturgical calendar, from which we UUs are descended, is that there are at least 2 seasons known as ordinary time. And I've read that it's called that because of the system of numerals we use to count days and weeks. But I love the implication that the liturgical calendar recognizes the need for seasons of everyday normal time and extraordinary miraculous time. Some of you may have heard me talk about the ancient Greek terms for time, chronos and kairos. In ancient Greece, chronos referred to chronological time, the way we experience time when we split it into sequential measurements of seconds and minutes and hours. But kairos referred to a non-sequential, non-chronological kind of time. It's the sense of reaching the opportune time to do something. It's knowing deep within ourselves, this is the moment we take action. It's the ripening of a moment in such a way where we know that this is the time we are brushing up against the numinous. Have you ever known, through some intuition, that it was time to do a specific thing? Have you ever felt the energy of change coming and known it was time for you to begin moving in a new direction? Or maybe you've known that you were in a time of grief. Maybe you've known you simply needed to sit with the enormity of something before you and just be. All of these are kairos time, a time that is not classified in units of measurement, but in intuition and feelings and knowing that comes from tuning into our rhythms and the rhythms of the world around us. Kairos time is sacred time. And cycles of sacred time get at something intuitive that comes up in our body, in our minds and spirits, and wants release. It's this need to acknowledge the constant miracle of our aliveness, to take stock of our own actions and recommit to living out our values. It's the need to reflect on our own spirits and renew our connections to each other. We need seasons of sacred time, seasons of wonderment. Now, ancient understandings of time had a lot of influences on many different cultures and systems, but in Christian theology, kairos did come to be understood as this critical moment of intersection between human understanding and the vastness of the sacred. And I think understanding chronos and kairos time helps us think about the ways in which we as UUs welcome our own seasons of wonderment. When we think about sacred time, it's no coincidence we wind up thinking about pace. All of the seasons I mentioned, Ramadan, High Holy Days, Advent, all encourage a change of pace. It's often a slowing down and putting aside of all the ways we busy ourselves in ordinary time so we can turn inward. And I don't think this is an accident. Our dominant culture has built up a dependence and reliance on chronos time over thousands of years. So much so I think we have lost touch with what it means to access kairos time. If you've heard me preach recently, you might know I'm in the middle of reading the amazing book, Rest is Resistance, a Manifesto, by Tricia Hersey, the founder of the NAP ministry. In her book, NAP Bishop Hersey writes, grieving in this culture is not done because a grieving person is a healed person. Can you guess why our culture doesn't want a healed person in it? I believe the powers that be don't want us rested because they know that if we rest enough, we're going to figure out exactly what's happening and overturn the entire system. Exhaustion keeps us numb, keeps us zombie-like, and keeps us on their clock. I really love that Bishop Hersey's work shows the connections between grief and rest and liberation, that she names that being with our grief is healing. And I think what she's getting at is an invitation for us to experience rest, a change of pace as kairos time. At one point in Encanto, the family Madrigal is panicked because it seems like their magical candle is about to be destroyed, and with it, all the magic. They're so focused on saving this candle that while their home crumbles around them and their village is rocked by the opening of large fissures, most of them are just racing towards the candle. They're working so hard to save the miracle that for a moment they seem to forget about saving themselves or each other. If you haven't seen the film, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but let's just say saving the miracle candle doesn't go so well. And the family sits in the wreckage of their home, seemingly having lost their magic, wondering where the miracle went. I think when we experience this kind of transformative event, or grief, or slowing down, a moment of Kairos time is an essential part of our journey back to awe. It reminds me so strongly of one of the quotes used for our opening words, the haiku by Masahide. Barns burned down, now I can see the moon. Those 3 lines always get me. The simplicity and the gut punch of barns burned down. We get instantly this sense of calamity and loss. Now, we're brought back to the present moment, anticipating what comes next. And then, I can see the moon. Masahide takes us to clarity, to the paradox of this great upheaval, bringing awareness of wonder. It takes the family Madrigal's house coming down for Mirabel and the rest of the family and the village to understand they are the miracle. Their being, their lives, their ordinary collective efforts are the magic, the awe-inspiring occurrence. Don't forget I love you, our responsive reading said today. And it takes that house falling apart for the family Madrigal to realize their magic, their miracle, the awe they feel is about love. Because isn't that a part of what Kairos time, what the numinous really connects us to? Love. A season for wonderment that doesn't remind us of love, of how to love, is maybe not really a season for wonderment at all. Sometimes the house has got to collapse. The barn has got to burn down for us to stop, process. As Linda Gray said, hold that grief to bring our gift forward to the world and witness the miracle of the moon, remembering we are loved and we love each other. Bishop Hersey tells us, rest keeps us tender, and there's power in our tenderness and care. We will have to slow down to listen what our hearts and bodies want to share with us. Our lives are a beautiful experiment in curiosity and creation. We can craft a life outside of toxic systems. Collective care, imagination, and rest are vital to our liberation, and without them, we will not make it. Changing our individual and collective pace is an invitation to wonderment. To remember awe is all around us and we can brush up against the numinous. To feel our grief, joy, frustrations, and passions deeply, because each one is a reminder of our precious worth and dignity. So I think rituals and seasons that invite us to change our pace are technologies of accessing awe. As individuals, we might ask ourselves, what seasons of the year are resonant for me? Is there a time when I feel particularly called to slow down and change my pace, to get back in touch with everything around me? Is there a particular month or date that is of great importance to my life? And how can I craft observance around it? Collectively, we might wonder, what times of year are significant in the life of this congregation? How is awe present in our community? And how might we invite an intentional season for recognizing the ways our barns have burned down and the ways in which the moon is still up there, shining. How are we loving each other right now? How can we remind ourselves that we're loved? Somewhere, a house has collapsed. A barn has burned down. And together we dwell in the immense experience of that. And we remind each other to witness the moon. We remind each other we're not too late for our miracle. We are the miracle. Together, let's make a season for wonderment. Amen. Selah. Blessed be.
Thank you, Esther, for reminding us of wonder, inviting us to wonder, to Kairos time, to become aware of the rhythms around us in our lives and in the seasons of the world we inhabit. As you may have noticed, UUCC services have a rhythm, alternating between engaging you all in wonderful stuff and then inviting you to kick back and just take wonderful stuff in. This block of time is one of those active moments. We set aside this time for us to practice generosity. A good habit, surely, a wonderful habit, actually, deeds we do in wonder of and in wonderment of it all. Your contributions, your offerings support the work of the Unitarian Universalist Coastside community, and in particular, your donations pay the rent and warm the heart of this Odd Fellows Hall. And this collective giving builds our interrelationships as a community. Donations are now given in the spirit of generosity and accepted with a breath of gratitude. And I see we have an offertory hymn from Linda Grace.
So please rise in body and or spirit as you wake up. And we'll sing the hymn number 343, Fire Mist and a Planet, but we're only singing verses 2 and 3.
And again, I'll play it through one time in case you're unfamiliar with it. It goes.
Now extinguish the flame. Usually we extinguish our chalice with a standard reading, but this time we have new words for you to read. Please join me in reading these words by Reverend Brian Kiley, entitled Carry the Flame. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place, and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you are yet to meet. And now Esther has some closing words for us.
On theme, our closing words are adapted from yet another song by yet another Bay Area songwriter, Noe Venable, and these are adapted from her song, Miracle. There is a place where people go to celebrate the turning of frozen hope to fallen snow, and candles ever burning. No holding out, no looking back, no running from the future. Each golden hour we spend together, let time be our renewer. Blessed are we who find this miracle. And we're going to sing one more song, hymn 92, Mysterious Presence, Source of All. Please rise in body or spirit and add your voice, or just listen to this beautiful hymn.
And again, I'll play it through once in case you're unfamiliar with the tune.